So what happens when a scientific idea is just too out there for the usual channels? Well, today we're digging into a really interesting piece of source material, a GoFundMe campaign. But this isn't for a new coffee shop or a community garden. No, this is a crowd-funded quest by an independent researcher to take his brand new and very unconventional theory of the multiverse on a world tour.
And this line, pulled right from the campaign page, just says it all, doesn't it? It sets up this core conflict perfectly. On one hand, the work is framed as groundbreaking, and on the other, it's being ignored. It's that classic story, right? The lone visionary fighting the system. But is this a case of unrecognized genius, or something else? That's really the big question here.
So let's get into it. Who is the researcher on this quest? His name is Dr. Melvin Sewell, and he's an independent researcher and publisher. And according to his campaign, this isn't just some academic tour. For him, it's a personal mission to connect worlds that are usually kept separate. We're talking different cultures, hard science, and even mythology.
Okay, so at the absolute heart of this campaign is a theory called Structured Multiversal Interactions, or SMI for short. Now, Dr. Sewell doesn't just call it a scientific theory, he labels it a mythic scientific discipline. And that combination of words right there, that's our first big clue that we are way off the beaten path.
So what is SMI? Well, the official definition says it's a framework that blends mathematical modeling, category theory, and something called mythic scientific illustration. Now, let's be real. Those three things, you've got rigorous math, super abstract structures, and then mythology. They sound like they belong in completely different universes. So how in the world are they supposed to work together?
Let's just look at these three pillars side by side. You have the hard, cold logic of mathematical modeling and category theory, and then right next to it, mythic illustration. We're talking about things like dragons, ancient symbols, constellations. It's this exact blend of the super analytical and the deeply archetypal that makes this whole thing, well, so unconventional.
Okay, so what's the point of all this? What's the end goal? Well, the potential applications listed are incredibly ambitious. I mean, the theory is trying to tackle the biggest questions out there, like the nature of the multiverse and the mystery of consciousness, but at the same time, it's also promising real-world tools, like biosensors for VR fatigue and new ways to model molecules. It's a vision that really stretches from the cosmic all the way down to the microscopic.
But you know, a theory is just an idea on paper until it gets shared. And that brings us to the next big part of this campaign, the mission to actually take this theory on the road. This isn't just about hiding away and doing research. It's about getting out there.
And get this, instead of stuffy old academic lecture halls, the plan is to take this theory straight to the people. He's aiming for community centers, innovation hubs, and cultural venues all across Southeast Asia. The goal here really seems to be about breaking out of that institutional bubble and starting conversations in totally unexpected places. And it's not just a vague plan, there's a map. The journey kicks off in Los Angeles, and then it charts a clear path. The first leg of the tour is set for Vietnam and Malaysia, with the idea of expanding from there. Seeing it laid out like this really grounds this abstract mission in a concrete, real-world plan.
Of course, turning an ambitious journey like this into a reality takes money. And that brings us right to the core of the GoFundMe. Where exactly would the donations go? The campaign page is actually really transparent about the budget.
So the budget is broken down into four main areas. A big chunk is for the basics, right? Travel and housing. And the campaign makes a point of saying they're keeping it lean, shooting for just $30 to $60 a day. The rest of the funds are set to go to renting venues, getting the tech needed for demos, and covering the cost of getting all this research formally published. And this isn't just about giving money and walking away. The campaign frames it more like a partnership. If you support it, you get things like exclusive updates from the road, early access to articles and lectures, and even formal recognition in the final published work. But that last one, that's maybe the most interesting part. A chance to play a role in what Dr. Sewell calls a sovereign science movement.
And that phrase right there, sovereign science, that's what really elevates this whole campaign, from just a simple request for money into something more like a philosophical statement. It's asking us to think about the very system of how science gets funded and shared in the first place.
So what is sovereign science? Well, the way the campaign presents it, it's a model for research that intentionally goes around the usual gatekeepers, the universities, the grant committees, the established journals. Instead of begging for approval from these big institutions, it seeks funding and validation directly from the public. It's really an attempt to create a whole new parallel track for scientific exploration. And all of this leads us to our final, really thought-provoking question.
No matter what you think about this specific multiverse theory, this campaign points to a much bigger trend. Is crowdfunding becoming the new frontier for these kinds of pioneering or, let's be honest, maybe perplexing ideas? Are these platforms creating a new space for high-risk, super unconventional research that would otherwise never, ever get a chance? It's a pretty fascinating thing to think about.